Welcome to Community Talk, a public affairs presentation of the MSA United Way and Super Talk 1270. Now your host, Jena Gullo.
Good morning, Bismarck, Mandan. How's everyone doing today? Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to United Way's Community Talk. I'm Jena Gullo, the Executive Director of the Missouri Slope Area-Wide United Way, and co-hosting with me is the Operations Manager of United Way, Ms. Amber Ruzica.
Good morning, everyone.
I will not get used to that. I will never get used to that. I'm sorry, Kurt. Amber just got married a couple months ago, maybe, I don't know, August. It's been a while. How's married life treating you, Amber?
I still write Jensen like on a ton of things.
You're always Amber Jensen
at
to
heart.
Me.
Yeah.
Even when I write notes or emails or what, you're AJR.
Right.
I know.
It's
Can't make
too
the
hard.
switch.
I know.
So how's married life going?
It's going good. We're trying to find a house, so you know how stressful that can be, but we're powering through and haven't quite found the one we want, but we'll get there.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, and the housing market is a little bit different these days. Apartments are becoming more plentiful, which is good, but apartment rents haven't really gone down that much.
No.
They have somewhat, but office space has gone down, we've been hearing. But I guess everything, we just have to put it into perspective, right? Mm-hmm. What's stress to some versus stress to others. And I think about all the people that we're helping through United Way and that are worried about where their next rental payment's going to come from, or where their paychecks, what they're going to be able to pay for, and just all the kids in our United Way backpack program. It's unbelievable, I think, to so many people in our community what the real needs are.
Yeah, when you talk to different groups that are helping with the United Way backpack program, and you talk, 871 kids, they can't even, that could be one whole school of kids that go home every night or every weekend and not know where their next meal is going to come from. And so when you start talking about the numbers, I just don't think people really realize the number of needs that are in our community.
Mm-hmm. And when I look at, my heating bills, they stress me out, and I have a good job. I love my job. I, make a professional salary. And I think about people that have to work 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet, and how scary that would be. Or what if a life crisis happens and that's called a crisis. You don't necessarily always foresee it in your future. And so that's kind of why we're here today. We're talking about situations that you might not realize even exist in Bismarck, Mandan. We're going to be talking about human trafficking. We have Sarah from YouthWorks joining us later in the program. We really want you, and I mean you listening out there, to come and join us at our annual luncheon. It's this Friday. It's from 11:30 to 1. And it's a glimpse into the world of Bismarck, Mandan, and the greater community. There's good and there's bad. The bad is all the needs that we have, but the good are all the people who are willing to raise their hand and be a part of the change and contribute not just their volunteer time, but their dollars. And we are blessed beyond belief in Bismarck, Mandan. Just our donors, our donor base, our premier sponsors, our luncheon sponsors. Just awesome people out there. In fact, I'm having lunch after the radio show with Shelley Larson. She is the better half to Craig Larson. No, I'm just kidding. I love Craig. It's Starian Bank. And they've just always done a United Way campaign. Forever and a day. And it's because they really want to get their employees giving back to the community.
Yeah, and so if you're a company out there wondering what United Way is all about, just take an hour and a half out of your day on Friday. $15 will get you a ticket. We'll have lunch, and it's just a really great opportunity. Like Jenna said, we've been really blessed here in our community. So come join us, help us celebrate. We'll be giving out lots of awards and just thanking everyone in our community for making a lot of what we do possible.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's not super stuffy, but we do have some videos to show you. We do have just really, really awesome people that attend. We pack the Ramkota Ballroom, which is really fun. And if you can't afford a ticket, call our office. I'll buy it for you. I mean, really, I will literally donate the money and buy it for you because we want you there. For people who aren't involved, you need to get involved. And not for us, but for you and for the community that we're raising our kids in. I do foster care, and I see what the needs are, and I see how United Way can be so much more effective by targeting dollars towards preventing problems. And so that's the direction we've been moving in the last few years, is not just basic needs, but how can we stop the cycle of generational poverty? My new board president that's going to be officially voted in is at our annual meeting this Friday is Mr. Greg Vetter. He's past president of the American Bank Center, but he's also now at the University of Mary. And I don't know what his title is. He basically does everything that Monsignor and Jerry Richter don't do. I don't know what he does there. He makes the University of Mary flow. And
He's a busy guy.
Yeah, he looked right into my eyes. He said, Jenna, what is the one thing, if you could accomplish anything this year, what's the one thing you want to do? And I thought about it for about 5 seconds, and I said, I want to develop a system in Bismarck, Mandan, where we stop generational poverty once and for all. And I think we can do it. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, I was talking to one of our agencies the other day, and they were talking about how sad it is to see, at one time they maybe worked with the brother, and now they're working with the sister. And the reason why they were working with the brother to begin with was because of the father. And so it just never ends. And we, as United Way, donors and volunteers can really come together and make a big impact in that area.
And it's not too late to be a part of this campaign. We announce our campaign results this Friday. So please log in. Go to MSAUnitedWay.org. MSAUnitedWay.org. We need you. We need you today. We will see you this Friday. We'll be back in just a couple minutes with Sarah from YouthWorks talking about human trafficking in North Dakota.
Right now, it's 25.
The home for ABC News at the top of the hour is Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. You are listening to United Way's Community Talk. A big, big, big thank you to Town Square Media, Jim Walsh, and Super Talk 1270 for donating this airtime. You can find us here every other Tuesday from 11 to noon. And we're trying to bring issues that you've said are important to you and issues that you might not even know exist in our great state of North Dakota. Sometimes it's so much easier to ignore them, to live in ignorance. But there's some really serious things going on in our community. Co-hosting with me, first and foremost, is Amber Jensen, Operations Manager at United Way. And Amber, we have just an awesome guest in studio. I think we should just keep her on the whole program.
Yeah, I'm just excited because I myself don't know a whole lot about the issue that we're going to be talking about. So I'm excited to learn more.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking with Sarah Eastman. Sarah is a human trafficking navigator. Wow. Navigator. With YouthWorks. And Sarah, we're just so grateful to have YouthWorks providing these services and you in this position. I've loved talking with you so far over the breaks.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
So talk to us. Let's start with the very basics. What is human trafficking for all of our listeners out there?
Sure. So how we define human trafficking is that when somebody is compelled to engage in commercial sexual exploitation through force, fraud, or coercion. Something that North Dakota has passed in legislation in the session a couple years ago was that the force, fraud, or coercion does not need to be proven if the victim is under 18. So that is excellent news in the state.
So translate that into layman terms.
Yep. So if it is anybody under the age of 18, it does not need to be proven that it was consensual. It is just that they will be prosecuted for engaging in acts with a minor.
Isn't that child abuse?
Yes.
Okay.
I would
so
say
why would we need legislation to say child abuse is child abuse?
It is because before that, they thought sex would be consensual, whether it be a 12-year-old, whether it be a 27-year-old. And so now they are saying that it is illegal to engage with sexual acts with a minor.
Huh. I didn't realize it needed to be consensual before. Mm-hmm. That is something. Sorry, Amber's. Oh, sorry about that. We got distracted there. Okay, so this is such a serious topic. Talk to us about what it looks like, human trafficking in North Dakota.
Mm-hmm. So, some of what we see in some indicators, I guess, if you will, are runaways. So maybe those that are involved in the foster care system, the kiddos with minimal parental involvement, history of abuse. In all of the clients that I have personally worked with, they have all had sexual abuse history. Some of them have chemical dependency issues, and then in some of the homeless population that we work with, we have victims of trafficking.
When you talk about runaways, I can verify that this is absolutely the truth because I do foster care and I've had foster children in my home. And one was this gorgeous, gorgeous young girl, 12 years old, ran away with an older boyfriend who was 19. Mm-hmm. He took her from Bismarck to Minot to prostitute her.
Yep.
So it's real.
It is.
And it's right here.
It is. And most of the time in the younger population, we see it as just that, an older boyfriend. And it's the boyfriend may then, after some time, ask that if in order to continue being boyfriend and girlfriend, you need to do this with my friend, or you need to do this with my friend to get us some drugs or a place to stay or things like that. So we oftentimes in the younger population see it as an older boyfriend.
Wow. So do you know statistics on how many people you've served since starting a new program at YouthWorks?
Yeah, so this is such a new program that the statistics are also fresh. And so prior to 2016, we didn't really have much for concrete statistics. We are coming to the end of a reporting period, and so we do have some new numbers of the whole year of 2016. We worked throughout the state. So our office here in Bismarck and in Fargo have directly served 79 victims. And we also, as a navigator, I provide what's called technical assistance. So if other organizations or agencies have questions pertaining to a client they may be working with, then they call us for assistance or referrals or other resources. And so in that instance, we have served over 250 instances of technical assistance. So we've only directly served 79, but there's been over 250 times throughout 2016 that we have been requested for technical assistance.
How did YouthWorks get involved in providing this service, and how is it funded?
So YouthWorks is all grant funded. So, and then there are donations, obviously, but we received multiple grants for this. They had to write proposals, and thankfully we've got funding our way. But YouthWorks felt that they kind of had a little bit of an advantage in this area, if you will, just because they are the runaway and homeless organization for the state. And so because of that, even prior to the awareness of this topic and prior to us getting the money, we were seeing these kids all along. There's been many instances that the staff have said, now that they know what human trafficking looks like and how they can, see it, they have said, oh yeah, that girl I worked with a couple years ago was definitely at high risk. And so going back now, they really feel that we are really qualified to be able to help this population.
So when you say now that they're able to recognize it, you talked about, if there's not a lot of parental contact and runaways, what are some other things that help your staff, your team, to see that this is actually a human trafficking client? And versus just a runaway.
Yep. So a lot of what we have seen, like older boyfriends, the drug usage, some of my clients have really been into their technology, so sending explicit pictures, messaging even men from out of state, out of country, somehow always getting their technology needs met. So whether, an iPad or an iPhone is taken away, somehow they miraculously always find another one. Also, there's physical indicators. So there could be tattooing that represents, sometimes their trafficker tattoos them. So whether it be a last name, a zip code, even just a symbol like a $sign. We had a young lady with a kidney infection, and kidney infection goes back to a bladder infection that was unnoticed, and then that can be also from the trafficking. So there's just many different indicators that are recognizable.
How does someone find you if they need help?
Mm-hmm. So we have we do have a website, youthworksnd.org, but then we also have many of our cards throughout the state. We have a hotline, a crisis line, specific to human trafficking that is answered 24 hours a day by the trafficking specific staff. So whoever you get will know exactly how to help you.
What is that hotline number?
That number is 701-526-4863.
So 701-526-4863.
Correct.
So what happens? What's the process when people call that number?
So when they call that number, it is if it's a crisis, if somebody's needing housing, even a couple nights to stay, if they're needing to get back to their family, whether that be out of state, in state, we can help with finances for that. We can help with a bus ticket, a plane ticket, anything like that. We also have specialized foster homes called host homes in the state that if they're 22 and under, they can be placed in for housing. We also have the domestic violence shelters that we really rely on throughout the state for the adult population. So we just make sure that we get their immediate needs met and also provide that supportive case management throughout the time that they want services.
And I imagine there'd be a lot of fear just for their safety.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make sure that that's taken care of?
Yep. So everything is kept confidential. The locations of the houses, of the shelters are all confidential.
Thank God. Gosh, thank God for YouthWorks, your great leadership over there, and the services you're providing for victims of human trafficking right here in North Dakota. The hotline again is 701-526-4863 or go to youthworksnd.org for more information. We'll be back in just a couple minutes with Amber from the Abused Adult Resource Center.
Right now, it's 25.
The Red River Farm Network. Ag News is here on Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back, Bismarck, Mandan. Thanks for tuning in to United Way's Community Talk. I'm Jena Gullo, the Executive Director of the United Way, and I hope that you'll join us this Friday. It's our annual luncheon at the Ramkota Hotel from 11:30 to 1. We need everyone in the community there. We absolutely pack the ballroom. It's a fun event. It starts at 11:30. It ends promptly at 1 o'clock, and it's a time for us to talk about community needs, ways you can meet them, and also say thank you for giving to our last campaign here. We're wrapping it up on Friday, so it's not too late to give. You can go to msaunitedway.org. We need $5 that will sponsor a United Way backpack full of food for the 871 kids that we're providing them for over the weekends. Or if you want to give to the elderly, we do home delivered meals. We did over 56,000 in 2015. We're gathering our 2016 stats as we speak. So however you want to give, we're making sure we're taking care of the community. We've had a great show so far. We were just talking with Sarah Eastman from YouthWorks about some of the needs around our state regarding human trafficking. And Amber Jensen is in the studio, Relations Manager at United Way. And we also have Amber and Ambry from the Abuse Adult Resource Center. Thank you, ladies, for even being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, Ambry, talk to us. What do you do at ARC?
Well, I do case management services for anyone at risk of trafficking or people who have been trafficked, and I do ages 23 and up.
So how is that different from YouthWorks?
They do 22 and younger, so they kind of work with the younger population, and then we work with a little bit more of the adult population.
So when you say you work with the adult population, talk us through how that looks to you. How do you recognize that someone is a human trafficking victim versus a domestic violence victim?
Right. So when people call in, we have like different indicator questions within our intake. And if they screen in on, so many of those, then we'll know that there's kind of some indication that there might be something like that going on. And a lot of times they don't come in and say I'm a human trafficking victim, but it'll come out, in the intake or as we kind of get to know them, we'll find some of that out.
Yeah, and it's got to be something that I would think oftentimes, like domestic violence, no one wants to think of themselves as that victim.
Absolutely.
So how do you get some of that information out of people so that you can help them?
Right. A lot of people don't self-identify with having been trafficked, but just some of the questions are geared in a way that, we can kind of scope it out. Has your partner ever pressured you into having sex with anyone other than themselves? Questions like that without saying, have you been trafficked? So then we'll kind of get it out that way.
So what's really, I think our listeners will think is really interesting is that you purposely don't shelter human trafficking clients with, at your Abuse Adult Resource Center's shelter.
We do sometimes. We kind of just screen each case individually.
Okay.
And I think this last quarter we had about 5 clients that we had sheltered in our DV shelter at risk and stuff like that.
And so what would be the reasons you wouldn't put them into the shelter?
Well, there's always that risk of them talking to the other gals and kind of recruiting them that way. That's something we're always really worried about just because the women in the shelter, they are very, very vulnerable. And if someone comes up to them and is like, hey, come with me tonight, we'll make $2,000, that's going to sound pretty good to them. So that's something that we're always kind of being aware of. Absolutely.
And so when you talk about this partnership with YouthWorks, what does that look like? And what services do you rely on them to provide?
So, I'll do the case management for the adults, and then most of the time, if we have a release, I'll talk to Amy Jacobson from YouthWorks, and she's our navigator, and she'll provide me with kind of some technical assistance. We've had situations before where we were trying to get a client, maybe to a human trafficking treatment center. And, she can assist me in those ways. Sometimes, it takes more than one person just to accomplish some of those big projects.
Do we have any of those human trafficking treatment centers in North Dakota?
We don't. I wish we did. That would be so great. But they're kind of all throughout the country, and it's kind of tricky to get someone into one.
And so where is the closest one? Which state or city?
Minnesota, I believe.
Okay. Well, that's not too far away, but yet it's got to be hard for people to be uprooted from their family, and that has to be a tactic that their abusers want from them, is to really cut off those connections.
Yep. And I guess Fargo is even closer for one, but a lot of times we need to get them out of the community for their safety anyways, because their trafficker might be here, and once you've been trafficked around the state, it usually kind of ranges across the state. A lot of times they want to get out of here anyways.
Mm-hmm. So if someone happens to call that's 24, living in rural North Dakota, and there's not a navigator near them, who do they contact? Do they still contact the Abuse Adult Resource Center and you work with law enforcement to get them to Bismarck, or how does that work?
So with our human trafficking project, we cover, I think, 16 counties. All rural counties around us, and I believe all of North Dakota is covered by a navigator, and they all have their particular counties. So in that situation, a lot of times they'll get connected with Amy, our navigator, first. And then she'll, when they're in our jurisdiction, she'll kind of get them connected to me. And we have funds to be able to travel and go to them and stuff as well.
So what can be done to really address this issue, particularly in North Dakota?
Right. Well, I mean, some of the causes, it comes down to, gender oppression, just the way, women have been oppressed over the years. So just as that continues, that certainly doesn't help. So just people kind of standing up against that. And just getting to the actual pimps is kind of the goal, because then we can shut down like their ring and their operation. So I think with having like me and Amy as the case managers, as we can work with those clients, most of the time they're willing to work with law enforcement. And we have a really good relationship with law enforcement around here, and then, we can try and shut some of that down.
There has been some news stories about some of these rings being shut down I don't know exactly when, but the last couple of years. Have you played a role in any of that? Do you know?
I don't believe so. We have many active cases now, but nothing that has kind of, is finished yet at this point.
So is the hotline number the same as the YouthWorks number, the 701-526-4863?
No, there is actually like United States wide, like a national hotline that they can call. And then the different navigators, they kind of take turns rotating through that. So then you'll get on the line with someone from, somewhere. Or we even have our North Dakota, I guess, one too.
Why don't you give our listeners those numbers?
Oh, I don't think I brought them with me, actually.
Oh, that's okay. So we do have the YouthWorks number, and that is available 24/7, and that is for North Dakota. It's 701-526-4863. And the reason I just keep repeating that is if there is anyone that is in need of help who's listening, or knows someone who's in need of help, dial that number, because you really don't know. You're not doing a disservice to someone by simply trying to get them help if indeed they're in an abusive situation, if they need it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how can people get involved to help in this? I mean, you see a lot of stories and people aren't sure exactly what the needs are, but we were just talking with Sarah from YouthWorks that, they definitely have housing, which is, thank goodness that they have somewhere safe to go. There seems to be enough housing in the state, thank God, if the federal funding continues. Are there things that you need at ARC to help with this, or is this that type of population where really, as long as your federal grants continue, or are some state grants for ARC? So as long as your grants continue, you've really got a good handle on addressing this need.
Well, I think the volunteer work at AARC is always helpful, and we might be able to find ways that they can help with the Human Trafficking Project. Other than that, some of our needs are, just needing even a drop-in place for people with addiction issues, which is kind of, a bigger picture issue, but, some of those needs with the mental health and addiction.
What would you say for the clients you've been serving at AARC? Are there a good portion of those clients who, for the human trafficking at least, that have been involved in drug use or are addicted to drugs or alcohol?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge portion of them because, how do you cope with something like that every day?
Absolutely. It's got to be an impossible situation to escape emotionally and mentally, yet alone physically. So how many people have you been serving this last year?
So I started this position in July, and I think I have about 20 people that I've worked with since July. And at any given point, I usually have on average 10 clients that I'm working with.
And so for those people, are they then housed primarily in the YouthWorks homes across the state?
Well, we have a house specifically for people who have been trafficked. So we use that.
And is that, you mean YouthWorks house or your house, or you share it?
We kind of share it.
Okay.
Yep. And then, as well as our shelters as well, we utilize.
Well, perfect. Well, gosh, thank you so much, Ambry, for coming on and talking about the important work you're doing at the Abused Adult Resource Center. YouthWorks does have about 6 houses through the state, according to Sarah Eastman. She said they aren't always full, which is a good thing, but they usually do have at least 1 or 2 people in them. So it is definitely a need. Thank goodness that YouthWorks and the Abused Adult Resource Center are addressing it. Come back and we'll be talking more at United Way's Community Talk.
Right now, it's 25.
On Twitter, Facebook, online, and YouTube. supertalk1270.com.
Hello there, Bismarck Mandan. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Jena Gullo, the proud executive director of the Missouri Slope Area-Wide United Way. Honest to God, I really am proud. I'm proud to be a part of such a great organization and such great leadership with our board and such a great team at our office. Part of that team, a big part of that team, is Amber Jensen Ruzica. Did I introduce you as Amber Jensen last segment?
Yeah, but it didn't even faze me.
Whoopsie, sorry, Kurt. Amber Ruzica. Am I saying it right?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe in a year I'll get it. But in all reality, Amber is this huge part of United Way. You've been on board for a number of years now, and you've done just an awesome job in leading and organizing Women United, and helping us to really make United Way's Adopt a Classroom more robust in our community.
Yeah, and so we just selected Jeanette Myrie.
Because we were at
Saxvig. And so we took a little time off and just excited. We went last week for the first time this year of 2017. And boy, did the volunteers just have an awesome time. And so we're there every other Tuesday in the morning. So depending on what grade you select, kind of depends on what time you go there. And you're there for an hour. And really the focus is on reading, because we know if by the end of the 3rd grade, if kids are reading proficiently, they're 4 times more likely to graduate on time. And so really just such a strong focus on education and just a lot of fun. And so I went last week and had the opportunity. I read with 2 different students, and they just appreciate the support, and frankly, they just need a mentor.
Yep. In fact, we do a needs assessment at United Way, and so we found that only 35% of our youth feel that they have a positive adult role model. And so if you want to learn more about what some of the needs are and what we're doing about them, you really need to come to our annual lunch, and it is this Friday. We're at the Ramkota. It's virtually free to come. Virtually. Almost.
You can't go to McDonald's for the same price.
Well, but we love McDonald's. Denny Sodabear is a good donor and volunteer for us. So we do love McDonald's. But yeah, on this Friday, instead of McDonald's, come to the Ramkota. It's from 11:30 to 1. We promise to have you out of there before 1. Well, we can't really promise this year because we are awarding our Lifetime of Caring award to Al Wolf. And he's a talker. Let's be honest. We're going to be there till 2 o'clock. But if you have an appointment, you need to get out on time. You surely can. It's just really great. We have some great people coming too. We have Grace Link. She and her late husband were past recipients of our Lifetime of Caring award. We just have just Dave Pierce from Papa's Pumpkin Patch is a past recipient. Sister Thomas Welder is going to be there. Who cannot love to be at a place where Sister Thomas is? So come out. And it's where we announce where our final results are for our United Way campaign. We are wrapping it up. We will promise to take a month off of harassing you. But it's
only a month.
Yeah, only a month. Then we're back at it. But, the thing is this. It's not too late. Our goal is $2.6 million, and we haven't announced where we're at yet. And we promise you that every single dollar is going to go where it's absolutely most needed. in Bismarck, Mandan. And that's why I love United Way, because it's so transparent. We make local decisions. We're governed by a local board. We have our own 501c3 status. So it's not anyone up above telling us what to do and how to do it. We do it. And we have so many great resources through United Way Worldwide that help to support the work that we're doing. But we're not like the Red Cross or structured like the Salvation Army, which both are great organizations. But really, they're structured from people outside of North Dakota. I mean, that's who ultimately is in charge.
Yeah, and if you haven't gotten involved with United Way work, like Jena said, come this Friday or sign up to be a reviewer, because like she said, we make the decisions here locally, and you could be one of those trained volunteers that really gets an in-depth look at what are the needs in our community, what is the data telling us, so that we're not just funding programs that might not actually be a true need in our community, or maybe another organization is doing it and doing it quite well. And so you get to review the applications and help make some really educated decisions. It's hard work, but it's really a great opportunity to see what the needs are in our community and get involved. And once you do that, we have a lot of people that tell us, Julie Dahl is one of our Women United steering committee members, and she said once you get involved in reviewing the applications, you truly understand what United Way is all about.
Yep. And Leslie Oliver, our current board president, who was a partner at Vogel Law Firm, was recently selected to be the general counsel for Governor Doug Burgum. So that's exciting for us, exciting for her. And, she's going to do just a tremendous job. And she's passing over the reins to our incoming president, which is Greg Vetter at the University of Mary. Who doesn't love the Vetter family? I love every one of them. They're just a great group of people. But, I guess we could go on and on about the people that support us, like the Sister Thomases of the world. But there's a reason. It's because of trust. And if it's new to you, get involved, because you can be a part of every single decision that's made. And I want our United Way to be a reflection of our community. So if there are needs out there that we're not addressing, well, let's figure out what's the best, most efficient way to start addressing them. And we will always provide basic needs services. So we'll always make sure the hungry aren't going hungry, the homeless have shelter, that, the elderly are taken care of. But really, the majority of your dollars, you've told us you want us to start preventing these issues from getting bigger and bigger, even as our population expands. I mean, right now we are providing 871 backpacks to kids in our local community. That's too many kids that are in need of this help. But we need your help to provide for this basic need. It's only $5 for a backpack full of food, $2,000 for a weekend, or we need your volunteer time, get your kids involved. We also have our Day of Caring in August. If you are a business out there that has not yet been involved, it's going to be August 16th. So you can make your plans now and get the day off from work from your boss and figure out what is the best way to support the local needs in the community, so you know exactly where your dollars and your time are going and what the ultimate goals and outcomes are going to be.
Yeah, and so if you're driving around town, like Jena said, we'll need volunteers for Day of Caring, but you also see things that are happening in our community. If there's a playground that could use a little TLC, if there's a church that you know of somebody that's attending that maybe could use some help, be thinking about those projects. That will be launched here in the spring, March or April. We'll be starting to accept applications for our Day of Caring. I think last year we had over 100 projects, so we need the projects to help fill those volunteer needs.
And we need the money. We save our local nonprofit community $270,000 plus just through Day of Caring. We're providing training for our agencies to help build them up. When you give to United Way, you're supporting the homeless and runaway youth programs. You're supporting the domestic violence shelter in town. $5 is a backpack full of food. We have home delivered meals to the elderly. We have foster care, group homes that are funded by the state, but not enough. And just the basic needs are being provided. So with your help, these kids are able to get the therapy that they really need, the home and loving environment, the art classes, the basketball shoes, whatever it is that you need. And we're going into the classrooms. I want this upcoming school year, for us to have businesses adopt classrooms in every high poverty school that we have in Bismarck and Mandan. And that's my challenge to you. We're almost there now. We've got Jeanette Myrie taken care of. And we have other businesses going into classrooms around the community.
Yeah, we have Herberger's in Dorothy Moses, and also just signed on Glance and Mode are going to be starting here at Wilmore Elementary. And so they're really hitting them hard here in Bismarck. And we have one business that's also going to Miller Elementary as well.
That is awesome. We want every classroom in this community adopted, and it just takes an hour every other week, and you guys can switch it up within your business partners. Let's do this. Give your money too, not just your time. Give us your money. MSAUnitedWay.org. And if you want to be a part of deciding how your dollars are used and be more informed, come to our annual luncheon. It's this Friday at the Ramkota, 11:30 to 1. You can get your tickets online at MSAUnitedWay.org, and like us on Facebook. We're always posting different needs up there, and you've been so incredibly generous and responsive. We need to see you this Friday at the Ramkota. Amber's going to be there.
That's right. Don't forget, this Friday.
This
One
Friday.
more time, this Friday.
Go to MSAUnitedWay.org. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.